You planted a full row of hostas, or tulips, or your first vegetable garden, and within a week something ate it down to stubs overnight, cleanly enough that you barely found any evidence except the damage itself. No dig marks, no chew marks on bark, just gone. That's rabbits, deer, or both. And the two products people buy most to stop them, a real fence or motion-activated sprinklers, cost real money and, in the case of a proper fence, real installation effort. There's a one-ingredient spray that costs you almost nothing if you're already buying eggs, and it holds up through an entire season if you make it right. The fix is rotten egg spray, and I want to walk through why this works before you write it off as an old wives' tale, because the biology behind it is completely legitimate, and it's the exact same mechanisms several expensive commercial deer repellent sprays are built around, just without the markup. Rabbits and deer are prey animals, and prey animals have an extremely strong, hardwired aversion to the smell of sulfur compounds released by decomposition, because in the wild, that smell reliably signals a predator kill site nearby, somewhere a predator has fed recently and might return. It's not a learned behavior they get used to and ignore over time the way they might with an unfamiliar synthetic chemical smell. It's closer to the same deep instinct that makes the blood meal squirrel repellent I showed you earlier work so consistently. A yard that smells like decomposition is, to a deer or rabbit's nervous system, a yard where something dangerous might still be around. If this kind of full pest and garden system is useful to you as it builds out, subscribing is the way to catch every piece. Here's the recipe. Blend 3 raw eggs into 1 gallon of water until fully liquefied. A blender or a vigorous shake in a sealed container works fine. Let this mixture sit, loosely covered, for 2 to 3 days in a warm spot. This is the step that actually produces the sulfur compounds that make it effective, since fresh egg alone doesn't smell nearly strong enough. Once it's properly aged, strain out any solids, pour it into a pump sprayer, and apply it as a fine mist directly onto the leaves and stems of the plants you're protecting, as well as a perimeter ring around the bed itself. Apply on a dry, calm day and reapply every 7 to 10 days, or immediately after any rain, since the scent washes away and needs refreshing to stay effective. Timeline. Because this works on scent-based avoidance, rather than requiring an animal to taste or ingest anything first, protection is close to immediate. Most deer and rabbits will avoid a freshly sprayed plant on their very first approach, sometimes visibly turning away within the same visit, rather than needing repeated bad experiences to learn avoidance. That said, a hungry enough animal in a low food season may occasionally test a treated plant anyway, which is why keeping the reapplication schedule tight matters more here than it does with less determined pests. Warnings worth knowing. First, the smell during the aging process, and for a short time after spraying, is genuinely unpleasant to people too, not just to animals. Apply it away from windows, doors, and anywhere you or neighbors will be sitting outside for the next day. And it fades for human noses well before it fades for deer or rabbits. So don't judge whether it's worn off by your own nose alone. Second, don't spray directly onto anything you're planning to eat without a very thorough wash and a several-day gap before harvest. This is a repellent for ornamental protection and general garden perimeter. Use, not something you want directly on, produce close to harvest. Third, always let the mixture age the full 2 to 3 days. Spraying it too fresh means too little sulfur odor has developed and the repellent effect will be weak. Fourth, reapply proactively on schedule rather than waiting until you see fresh damage. Once an animal has already committed to feeding in a specific spot a few times, it takes more consistent reapplication to break that habit than it would have taken to prevent it in the first place. Here's what this looked like on a hosta bed at the edge of my yard, right against a tree line where deer moved through constantly and which had been eaten down to almost nothing 2 years running by early June. Blended and aged the egg mixture for 3 full days, then sprayed thoroughly over every leaf and around the bed's perimeter on a calm, dry morning, well before anyone would be sitting outside nearby. First week, no fresh browsing at all. Genuinely the first clean week that bed had seen in early summer in 2 years. Reapplied at day 8 on schedule. Then again after a rainstorm around day 16. Across the entire growing season, I only found light browsing on a couple of leaves once, right at the tail end of a reapplication cycle, when the scent had faded more than usual, and a fresh application stopped it again within days. Total cost for the whole season, under $2 in eggs, since I was already buying them regularly anyway. A proper fence around that same bed, based on quotes I looked into, would have run into the hundreds of dollars for materials and installation for an area that size, and motion-activated deterrent sprinklers start well above that. Myth to retire. Human hair or bar soap shavings hung in bags around a garden as a deer repellent. This one has decades of word of mouth behind it, but controlled trials on it are inconsistent at best, and in practice it tends to fade in effectiveness within days, as scent dissipates outdoors, far faster than a properly aged egg spray reapplied on schedule. One-line version. Age raw egg, blended into water for 2 to 3 days. Spray thoroughly on leaves and perimeter. Reapply every 7 to 10 days or after rain. Tell me in the comments whether it's rabbits, deer, or both hitting your garden, and what's gotten hit the worst this year. That's genuinely useful for me to know what to dig into next. Subscribe if this series has been useful, and I'll see you in the yard.